All right. So this philanthropist, he was a very wealthy man. He wasn't much educated, but he had learnt, and he was in charge. He had a timber processing company. He actually exported timber from Ghana and other places to London and the US. He actually opened a shop in the US. He actually hired a ship by himself to send timber over to US and London. And so he was much exposed. And when he came back, he saw how his people were treated by the Europeans. And so he was ready to push for a political party that would get rid of the Europeans from his country.
What year was that? You said what year was that?
Yes, there was around 1943.
Okay.
Yes, but he was doing this thing. So later on in 1947, the first political party was formed, and in August, that's the United Gold Coast Convention. He financed it, and at that time it was made up of 5 people. These 5 people were made up of lawyers, educationalists, and also businessmen. And when they formed it, they realized that they need to advance this cause. Their motto for the party was called self-governance in the shortest possible time. And so in December, one of them, or before December, one of them was called Aku Ejay, said that because we need to push this thing, and because the 5 of us are also engaged in other things, we need somebody who would be the mouthpiece of the party. So they had to look for someone, and in Kwame Nkrumah was recommended. That time Kwame Nkrumah was in Lincoln and had also moved to London. And so they said that they would have, at that time Kwame Nkrumah didn't have money and wasn't working, and he couldn't come back. So if they were willing to pay for his ship fare to come back to Ghana, he would, and if he would be paid during working. So Power Grant financed the return of Kwame Nkrumah to become the secretary. And at that time he was paid, the fare for the ship to bring him was about £100. And roughly he was being paid £150 at the end of the month. And so the first political party was formed. But later on, there was a strong misunderstanding between the founder of the party, who was called J.B. Dankwa, and Kwame Nkrumah. So Kwame Nkrumah had to break away to form his own political party, which was called the Convention People's Party, CPP. So at this point, take a break, and then we'll continue, because when we get to some places, I will be showing you some more things and we'll tell you more things.
Okay.
All right. If anybody has questions, you can ask based on what we've spoken about so far. And if there are no questions, okay. Yes.
What is the people's thoughts of the president wanting to push for the youth to be taught French?
The president's push?
Yeah.
Okay. So the push is not only for this president. Other presidents who have come before him have actually pushed for French to be something that should be taught. And actually it's being taught. From junior high school, everybody takes French. And then when you get to senior high school, there's an option where you choose if you want to further on do French. But the government is trying to do a new curriculum. You know, I was telling you yesterday that we had 10 subjects, which are trying to bring down to 7. So they would have one that would be those who would be doing French throughout their senior high school all throughout, and even junior high school all throughout, so that it would push for people to learn French. So there's been something that we've been talking about and people have been pushing about to learn French. We also have French schools for people who also want to further on take French classes and learn that. We have a French school called Alliance Française, the very popular school here, and people go there to upgrade and to learn French. So it's because of our neighboring borders, we can't because if we want to influence, one of the things is economy-wise, our neighboring countries are those we want to get in touch with and sell and cross, share and all that. So it's one of the things that is being pushed for, because there are people, they're even here in Ghana, there are young people who actually set up companies in Togo and Cote d'Ivoire, and so they need to get the French going. So yeah.
One last
Yeah.
question. Is there a local language that the surrounding countries also speak, that an African language?
There is no African language.
There's no African language?
No.
That everybody speaks it.
Everybody speaks indigenous
Different tribes.
different tribes.
No African language?
No. Africa is big.
Wow.
There's no one language in
There's
Africa.
no one language in Africa. No.
Is there a common dialect that's spoken
Right,
in
that's-
Ghana,
yeah.
in Togo, in Benin?
Not at all.
So
They
that's
can communicate
So-
outside of French and English.
No,
so-
it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.
that's what I'm saying. What I said earlier on. There are ethnic groups which cut across borders. So in Togo, there are some Evers there, and in Ghana there are some Evers here.
Right.
These are the close boundaries between the two, because the Evers and the Evers in Volta region are here, and they have Evers in Togo.
Right.
So that's to the east. And when you go to the west, there are people called Nzimas. There are Nzimas in the west here in Ghana, and then Nzimas when you cross over to Cote d'Ivoire. And if you go to the north, there are Dagombes who are in Ghana, and there are Dagombes who are in the north. But when you come within the country, they are different. Mostly Akant.
They really can't
No.
communicate with each other.
No. So even here in Ghana, there are some places, if I travel, I won't be able to communicate very well.
Their own people, right?
Yes. Especially if I go to the Volta region, I don't speak much Volta, I don't speak much Ewe language. So it's hard. The common language that we can speak is English.
Unfortunately.
Yes, unfortunately. That is what is taught throughout school all the way.
So,
Yeah.
so what about us just creating just one language for the continent? Like, and we're all forced to learn it.
Some people,
And all of the
I know some people push the Kiswahili.
Yeah, people have, there are people who have actually advocated for Kiswahili and all that. Yeah. But it's going to be hard.
because
Very hard to push.
West Africa is probably not trying to hear that, right?
Yes. And Kiswahili is mostly between east and then south. Yeah.
So you don't have any kind of something that we can read or translate that over to that language? Is there any kind of
Well, they are the languages that are translated from English to the local language and vice versa. Yes, so they do that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
However, I believe it will be very detrimental and most beneficial to Africans to have a language that the entire is not impossible and it needs to be done, otherwise it will be our undoing. Like it already has been some areas.
I agree.
Other than English, right?
Yes, do you want to say something?
But one good thing about everybody learning English, right? If the Africans didn't know English, they wouldn't be able to talk to us in America.
Yeah.
So by them European, it's not a bad thing. But I'm just saying that because we all speak English now, we're all able to connect.
Yes.
But we have to take it further to learn different dialects.
Yes.
Or to have one like, Kiswahili
Yeah.
or something like that.
True. Yeah. Yes.
With all these kind of empty buildings, construction, I would assume that there's a big construction market out here.
Yes.
A lot of work, a lot of labor for construction.
Yes.
Is that true?
It is true. Yes. It is true.
Is there a lot of money in that?
For the real estate, there is a lot of money. But for, here, those who work are actually craftsmen, individual. Those who've actually established themselves would have workers who work with them, and so they get something. So it is very, very segmented. For me, here in Ghana, people build houses by themselves. The majority of Ghanaians won't go to a real estate person to get their house built. They built it from the scratch, buy the land, lay foundation, buy stones, rocks, blocks, iron rods, all the way to the roofing.
Wow.
And people build based on the level of income. So someone's dream house can take between 5 to 20 years to finish.
Hey,
Yeah.
but it's yours when you finish.
Yes, and then when you finish, it's yours.
It's not like America where you just, you know,
When you finish, it's yours.
it's
The
yours.
only thing you would have to pay would be tax for the government for the property, but then it's yours. You don't have to pay rent to anybody.
Is that yearly tax?
Yes, yearly taxes. Yes, yes,
Yearly?
yes,
Annually?
yes. Annually.
Give us the amount. Give us the amount for the basic house.
Give us the amount, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Minimum wage. Okay. Yeah. So minimum wage, a day's minimum wage is now about 8 cedis for a day. 8 cedis.
Eight
Yes.
CDs?
So $2 a day, about less than $2
Less than
a
$2
day.
a day.
Wow.
Yeah. But here in Ghana, mostly we pay at the end of the month. At the end of the month. You get paid at the end of the month.
8 CDs at the end of the month?
No. I'm saying
It's per day.
Yeah.
Oh, per day.
Per day. It's per day. But at the end of it, that's how when you work, they pay you at the end of the month.
Oh, okay.
Yes. But then there are those who work like construction. Those you pay them upfront. Yes, based on the level of service the person is giving you. But if you're working in an institution, you are paid at the end of the month.
So wow, monthly payments. So that's
So
why
monthly payments. So if the lowest monthly payment would be about, let's say between 200 and 300 cedis.
$50?
Yeah,
About 50
yeah, about 50 bucks. Yes.
Does that include Social Security?
No,
There is no social.
There's no social
no,
security.
it doesn't include that.
They don't pay it, but do they have it?
Yes, they are. So there are institutions which are mandated to pay social security.
Okay, good.
Oh.
So yeah, we pay social security.
And then how much would they get?
So that's the
Social
thing.
Security.
So at the end, you're not able to save nothing. Because, for example, so let's use the minimum rent. Mohammed was just telling me that there's a place, the minimum rent a person would pay for just a single room compound house. Compound house means you're sharing the house with people. Probably you would have one bathroom and one washroom. The minimum probably you'll be paying will be like 85 cedis. Yes, a month. And so you pay your rent, you pay your utilities. The landlord will come and take utilities. You come and take your electricity bill and your water bill. If here in Ghana, we give birth to about 4, 3 going up. So let's say the minimum, let's say the person has 4 children. Okay, he has to pay school fees, has to feed, transportation. By the end of the month, he has nothing. He can't even save.
Sounds like poverty in America.
Yes.
Sounds quite familiar.
So it's the challenge.
It is a challenge.
So mostly you would know those who actually get that are mostly in the rural areas, and then those who do miniature jobs like cleaning and stuff like that. But those who work for the government, especially those who have institutions and private institutions, the government they mandates everybody to contribute to the SNET. It's called the SNET, Social Security National Insurance Trust. It's called the SNET, where you pay. And so you pay it, and when you go on retirement, you can have something to live on. But it is very, very small. Very, very small. So most people, when they retire, you know the job they go back to farming. They go back to their hometowns, their villages, and then they farm. and then they can feed their own selves, go where they want to eat and feed themselves. Yeah. So that is what it is. Yes.
Let me ask you about security. I may be a little naive based on these YouTube videos, but can you explain security? Like from what I'm seeing, it would be like if you have a family or if you're a single woman, it would be ideal to live in a place that has, again, I'm just being naive, to live in a place that has like barbed wire, maybe even like a security gate with a security guard, you know, on the compound, on the premises. I mean, is there any validity to that? Is it less safe? And you know, where we just came from, the rural areas, is it less safe because you don't have barbed wires and that kind of thing? So can you explain that?
So, you know, security is a matter of everybody needs to be very secure, and you need to, in a way, protect yourself everywhere in the world. And compared to the US, the Europe, and all that, where you have random crimes, it's not as much random as it is. But yes, there are threats. So people build homes and have high walls because they are well-to-do. And so when you live in that community, you know that you are prone to robbery. Those who live downtown in, we will say, the lower class, they don't have high walls, and each other is each other's keeper. And so the crime rates there, kind of stealing and stuff like that, is very low. Yes. And so that's how the thing is. But then Ghana is very relatively a very peaceful country. The crime rate is not as high as you have it in the States and stuff like that. Yeah.
So we came from what Guru yesterday?
Yes.
So it's relatively low.
It's very low. Yes.
Because everybody looks out for
Yes. Yeah. So this highway we're actually driving on, it's funny, it has a very funny name that you wouldn't like.
It's start with a B. It's start with a B. GB Highway. Is it GB Highway?
It's called the George Walker Bush Highway.
Y'all are not gonna like that.
I want you.
George W.
Yes, George W.
Oh, you got me kidding.
Hey.
So you know when Bush was in power, at that time too, Ghana had
Number 43.
Had a new government at that time. This is one of the highway that connects all the way to our industrial harbor city called Tema. And it's a very major highway. It's called the N1.
N1.
Yes, N1. And it goes all the way. You can go, you travel on the way, you go all the way to Togo, and this way you're going west, go all the way to La Côte d'Ivoire. And so traffic here was terrible. At that time, Ghana was in what we call the highly indebted poor country, HIPIC. So between 2004, it was terrible. We couldn't, by now we wouldn't be here. So there was what's called the Millennium Challenge account that was given to developing countries. So Ghana was able to access this funds. And so we were able to build and construct this road. So anytime I drive people here, I want to say thank you to you, and to your family back at home, because it's your taxpayers' money that helped us do this.
George
So
W.
Not Bush. So not Bush. So to you. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. You know, that's politics. How to do with it. So.
That's politics.
Yeah, you will say politics. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Is there any concern for the Chinese infiltration in Ghana? I know other
Good
African
question.
countries are, I mean, they're just creeping like roaches every, like teenage roaches. So, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but that is how they're spreading. And I'm wondering if Ghana has it so peaceful and everything here. And I'm wondering if they have any concerns about this infiltration that will cost Ghanaians their livelihood, and not only that, but on a social level, be relegated to as second-class citizens in their own country.
Yeah. So yes, there is a major concern, especially from the citizens. But you know, Ghana again is developing, and we need certain amenities, and so the government goes to places where they would get support.
Yes.
So-
by selling their soul.
And so,
Of course.
Very strong
yes,
rules
laws in
in place.
place.
Keep them in check.
So the government, so there was an interview on the news, and recently the government, or the Chinese are actually giving a huge sum of more money to the African continent,
That's no.
There's a tree.
and so
Let them finish. Finish so we can understand.
yes, loan, yes,
And then
yes,
once you
loan.
sign that charity, you'll be pulled in.
Yes. So the government was able to access some amount of money, and on the news, so the interviewer was asking a government official, do they know what the Chinese have done to other countries? And then the official was said, yes, we know, and so we are going in very strategically. And so they say all the good things, but we hope to see.
That's the definition of politics.
But then this is the thing. The previous government, there was a very big challenge. The Chinese were they were like messing the country up, especially our mining industry.
Yeah.
So in places where we have gold mines, especially in the west and in the Ashanti regions where we have large gold mines, the Chinese come in as tourists, and then they disappear into the rural areas, and then they bring in the big machines, and then they start mining. And they're mining right where the community, the streams and the rivers and the water that supplies to the people livelihood, farming and all that. I know here gold, the way we mine our gold, you need to wash the gold. There are those that are mined underground. There are those that you can find gold around rivers. So yeah, Ghana indeed is called Gold Coast. We still have gold. And so they come in and then they wash the thing in the rivers, and so it's polluted. It's terrible. When we coming from Kumasi to the Ashanti region, we'll pass one of the major rivers, and you see the color of it. So the government had to put a task force together and start deporting them. And this government also came in and started deporting them.
Yes, the Port and Bomber class.
So they are. So that is some of the things. That is some of the things. And there are those who are actually working, do other stuff, and then the way they treat the local people, and then so there are people. There was this Lebanese restaurant, and the way it treated this local person, staff there, I had to put their hand in a blender. Yeah, and so he's in prison.
They eat his fat before they put him in there.
So there are those who are coming into the country doing illegal businesses and treating the people bad, and so the government was actually also pushing that all these people will be tried and jailed. When it comes to citizens from other countries, all this international thing that has to come in. Yeah. So yeah.
Question.
Okay.
How can we get a meeting with the president with all our concerns?
Good luck. Good luck.
Probably maybe come the next time. And you keep on coming, we will try and see what we can do. Yeah.